Hey guys, so welcome to my first vlog. Today I'm gonna show you guys how I shop for my green juice and how I prep my green juice. This is a highly requested video, so I'm just excited for you guys to see it. Let's get started. We are at the Cherry Valley. I used to live in this area, so I really like the supermarket because it has parking, so I don't have to look for parking and go straight to buy my stuff. Okay, so our first stop is gonna be the fruit section. We're only gonna stop here just because it's first. It doesn't have to be a preference, it's just what I like to do because it's first. So I'm gonna take pineapples. There's different options, but for the green juice, the main important items aren't the fruits, it's more of the vegetables. So I'm gonna take my pineapples and I'm gonna take the smallest one because we don't want too many. This is just for the juice to not be so bitter. Second, we're gonna move on to the kiwis. And the way that I like to select the kiwis is I like to make sure that they're kind of hard. So I don't like them ripe. I don't like them to be like soft because since we're storing this, you wanna make sure that it's hard enough so that if it does get ripe, it's not that soft and mushy. Taking 4, and I take 1 kiwi per bag. So I'm gonna take 4, making sure que estén durito. Wrap it up. Next is going to be celery. So I used to not put celery in my green juice, but now I do because I figure that it helps me with digestion. We're gonna take 1 of these. These are small ones because we only use half of it for the green juice per bag. So I'm gonna take this little pack and I'm gonna show you guys how I cut it later. Okay, so this is important. So for the spinach, I like to take the big one because there's a little more bang for my buck. With this, I'm able to fill up 3 bags and I do 4 and sometimes 5. So if I needed another one, I would just take 1 of these for 5. Sometimes they do sell these kale, but these tend to be like, they tend to have like preservatives and stuff, and the point of the juice is to be healthy. So if they have fresh kale, I'll take a bunch. And when I grab these, I like to be really mindful because se pueden caer encima de mí and they have water, you know. So this is good. This bunch is good for like 3. That's not gonna be enough for 4, but I have some in the house, so this is okay for now. All right, so the last thing is gonna be ginger. I take pieces that are kind of like wide like this because I like to put like a line, kind of like a slice of this. So whichever is wide but not too big, because if you take one that's too big, it's gonna go bad by the time you need it again. So I usually try to buy things for 1 portion. So this is gonna be enough for the 4 bags that I'm going to do. And lastly, we're gonna take about 2 limes is fine because we only do half per bag. So 2 is fine, just make sure that they're not like super hard because if they're hard, that means they're dry. And lastly, we're gonna take some turmeric. Now it's time to pay and go home and get started to show you guys how I do this. Okay, so we made it to my house and now I'm gonna show you guys, we're gonna start taking the things out. And this is how I do it. So I like to take off this part first and then the other side. And I use this small, super sharp knife because the smaller, the more control I have of going around the kiwi. So yeah, I don't like it to be too big. So I'll cut it about here, take that piece off, and then I'll take this piece off. And then I will take the knife and go around it. This took me a long time. I tried to cut the kiwi without stopping, and I just go around the kiwi like this and work my way down. Before, I used to like cut little pieces, and then I figured this is the best way to do it. Okay, so let's move this to the side. And this is really important, guys, because the way you cut it, but we're using a juicer. Juicers usually are very slim. So we want to cut the fruits in a way that it fits in the juicer. So we don't want to chop this up in like weird slices. I grab it and then I cut the middle. And then I will do another cut right here. So I'll cut it like across. So that when I grab each piece, it fits right into the juicer. And I don't like to cut the cross from this angle because this is the core of the kiwi, so it kind of gives me a hard time to go straight through it. Also, guys, to keep in mind, when you buy the kiwis, make sure they're green ones and not golden ones. There's golden ones, they're like yellow. Make sure you buy the green ones. Everything green for this green juice. Okay, and I hold it like this to protect my hands. And I line it up. This is number 2. Next. So I'm just gonna give you guys a little insider story as to why I started doing this. So some of you don't know, but I am a nail tech. I do nails. And when I started doing nails and my business started thriving, I was booked up. Well, I'm still booked up, thank God. But when I started getting booked up, I kind of didn't know how to deal with waking up in the morning and having to make breakfast. So I would just leave with an empty stomach every single day. My aunt, she came from DR, and she used to make this green juice in the morning. And I'm like, ugh, disgusting. I would never eat that. I would never drink that in the mornings, especially in the morning. It was so much work to do it. She would wake up so early to do it. And she stayed with us for like about 1 month. And in that month, she started giving me green juice. And she started telling me what to put in it so that it doesn't taste so bad. Because I was just under the impression that green juice was just disgusting. But it's really not, if you put the right ingredients. So then after she ended up leaving, of course, me being lazy, I did not want to do this step to do the green juice. I didn't want to have to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to have to like prepare. So I started buying it. Okay, so a green juice in New York City, which is where I'm from, is about $11, $9. So because they were so expensive, I'm like, I'm going to start doing this on my own. So I started buying them. I started going to the supermarket and buying everything. And I started making the green juices myself. And I got so used to it that nowadays I just cannot leave without my green juice. It turned into coffee for me. So that's just a little insider story as to how I started doing this. So there's a special way that I dispose of this, because if you throw this out in the garbage, it's gonna smell and that's gonna be stinky. So we don't want that. So I take a separate bag and I place it next to me. And then I throw out all the peels that I do for the green juices, for the green juice inside this bag. And then when I finish, I tie it up and then I throw everything out in the garbage, because you don't want this to be loose in the garbage because it smells really bad. Now we're gonna do our apples. So just make sure you rinse these off before you start, because it can have preservatives. Okay, so now that we washed the apples, let's start cutting them. We'll put it upside down so that it has more balance, and I'll cut right in the middle. And then one is for one green juice and the other one is for the other. But remember that this has to be cut a certain way so it fits in the juicer. So what I do is I'll slice about 3 slices, 2 and 3. And I'll put my hand over so I can grip onto this. Be really careful while doing this, guys. Like that, when you're making your green juice, you take each piece and put it inside the blender. Take the other one. So 1 apple is gonna get you 2 bags of green juice. All right, so this is the last piece, and since I'm not gonna use it because I already have my 5 apples, I'm just gonna eat this half. Next is our celery. We're gonna go and rinse it off, and I'm not gonna use this whole bunch, so I'll just take out the branches that I'm gonna use. One of these is for 2 juices, so I'll take 1, pull it off, and then I'll take 2, and then I'll take half because I know I'm not gonna need it. I'm not gonna need the whole thing because we're doing 5. So I'll put these back in the bag. Inside. So this one's already cut, so I'm just gonna place it right here. This one we're gonna cut in half. And it doesn't matter if one has more than the other. And this one I'll just cut the end of it. And this we dispose. And I just need 2, so I'll cut this piece right here. And then I'll cut the end of this right here. All right, so we have our kiwi, green apple, celery. Now we get to the ginger. These are gingers that I have left over from my last green juices. So I'm going to take this one and I will cut this piece off just because it lost oxygen, and I'll dispose of it. And then I'll cut it to about 1/2 inch thick. The more ginger, the more it's gonna burn a little bit. You know, ginger has like a burning sensation, but ginger really cleans you out. And then pieces like this, I'll cut it off. But once it gets here, I'll do 2 just to balance out the amount. If you don't like ginger, then don't do so many. Okay, so now we're gonna wash our kale because it can have germs and preservatives from the supermarket. Just make sure you open up the leaves because sometimes it can have little black spots. See, so things like this, I'll pull off. I'm just gonna get a knife to cut that off. That just means it was going bad. So once I'm done washing the kale, I'll turn off the water and then I'll take the kale pieces and I'll line them up like this so that I can grab all of them and just check through them. So the pieces that barely have any kale, I won't take. I'll just dispose of them. And just make sure that you guys have substantial amount of Bounty here to soak this in. And I'm just gonna flip this over towards me because I'm gonna grab it from this side. These are the bags that I use. I use quart size storage Ziploc bags. It doesn't have to be this brand, of course, but I like to use this one because it's very strong. So I'll take out the amount of bags that I need. So I'm gonna need 5. And I'll just place them somewhere nearby. And the next thing I do is I open everything else that I'm gonna put in there because my hands are going to be limited. So I open this up. These come pre-washed already, so I don't really wash them. This one tends to close on me, so I'll just rip this off because I need this open, completely open. Line them up nicely, and lastly, I will open the pineapples. And this is what I do. So I'll take a handful of kale. Some people might have bigger hands, some people might have smaller hands, whatever works for you. And I'll just grab onto the kale like this. I know that this is the perfect amount for me to fill up half of that bag. So this is important. Handful, and then I'll take my knife and I'll cut straight through. So that's why we need everything open, because after I grab this, this hand is not available anymore. Then I'll grab this, I would open it up, and this is gonna go on either half side, but it's not gonna fill the whole bottom. It's gonna go halfway of the bag to the side. This took me years to figure out, guys, years. How was I gonna store this? All right. And now, while I grab this and I make sure that this is squeezed, I'll take a handful of spinach. And that goes on the other half of the bag. So I'll put it in, being mindful that I'm putting this on the other side. Okay, so your bag should look like this. If it's not down there, squeeze it. And if you squeeze and you still have a little bit of space, that means you're missing spinach. This bag is gonna get you a full 10-ounce cup of green juice. So this is what it should look like. Now I take my fork and I'm going to put the pineapples. I put about, I don't really count these. I put about, if it's small pieces like this, I'll put even 6 of these. So there's 4. And the pineapple is just to make the juice not taste so green. It kind of gives it like a sweeter taste. And then after that, then I'll start packing in every single thing. That's why I line it up. So first kiwi, I'll grab it. I'll store it in there. Then I have the apples. Then I'll take the celery and put it in there. You can put it straight, sideways, however. And then I will take the ginger. And lastly, I'm going to cut a slice of lime. And I'll cut it in half. And I will put it in there because we actually squeeze this in the juice after we blend it, after we juice it. And one last thing, guys, one last thing. The turmeric. So this has a very strong aftertaste. So I noticed that if I was to put this in the juice once it's already blended in the cup, it would taste too much like it. So what I do is I will just put it in here. And in the morning, obviously, that's going to go in the blender and it's going to blend all together. And then I'll close this up. I'll squeeze it down. And I'll close this up like this. So this bag gives me 1 full cup of green juice. And we're going to talk about how we store this after I finish all of this. All right, so let's continue. Okay, this is good enough. Okay, so if you did this properly, you're barely gonna have anything left over, the stems and a little bit of spinach. So we're gonna take this, put it in here. I like to pack things up so I don't make a lot of, mess. And we dispose of this in the bag that we prepped for this. Now this bag, I don't know if you have a garbage nearby in the building, but I would recommend throwing it out right now. So don't put this in your garbage can because the smells can get really bad. So I'm just gonna go throw this out. Okay, so congratulations. If you've gotten to this point, you've already pre-packed your green juice for the week. So just keep in mind that this is not a substitute for any meal of the day. This is just really good for you to start your day. It provides a good digestion, good nutrition, and energy throughout the day. And it also helps me keep my figure very slim. But it's because of this. I think it's because of this, because it helps me have really good digestion, like I said. And yeah, so now I'm gonna show you guys how I store these away. So I have a specific section in my fridge for this where I have 4 of them fit straight into it. So I'll put 1, 2, 3, and 4. The fifth one, I'm gonna show you how I blend it. So it's also good to know that these I don't freeze. So I don't put them in the freezer, I keep them in the fridge because we juice them. I do not blend this because I don't like texture. So if you have a blender, I just wouldn't recommend to use it. It's better if you just juice it because it takes out all of the texture out of it, and I just don't like texture, so I juice them. Okay guys, so these are the 3 juicers that I've used over time. I actually use so many different ones that has led me to use this one. This is my best one. So it's not that you can't use these, I just don't use them because this one is kind of big and it's very hard to clean when you juice, because this has a system in it that extracts the liquid out of the fruit. It just gets really messy and it takes a long time to clean, and I do this in the morning before I leave to work, so you don't want to have to do too much in the morning. So this one, I just have it in case the other one that I use doesn't work. And this one is just, this is too much for me in the morning. I already have to take care of work, it's too much. And then this detaches, so it's not effective for me. And the yellow that you see on it is turmeric. Turmeric, what's this word? It stains. So we're not gonna talk about that, and that's why I'm gonna use that. Imagine that happening to me in the morning. No. So this is too much for me right now. All right, so let's talk about this one. This one is about the size of a wine bottle. This one is very compact. I wanted something to be quick, powerful, and effective. So this one comes with the piece that you're gonna use to squeeze the fruit in. And then let's actually open it up so you guys can see. It's very easy to use. This, you can open it to the right, and it comes with a piece that extracts the juice out. So when you put the fruit piece in there, it will go in here. While this is on, it's going to kind of crumble it up, and then it's gonna squeeze the juice out through there, and the guts come out through here, and the juice comes out through here. So this one is compact. You take it out and you clean it. This, to clean it off, you will pull it. So grip this down, take this out. This, I'm gonna show you guys how to clean it later when we do our juice. And this part, make sure you're always gripping this down, pull it up. The other ones are very hard to use. This over here is to make sure that the guts don't come out and make the blender messy. So these are the 3 parts, and this is the control of it. And then here are your on, and this is to make it, if something got stuck in there, so you will press it. It doesn't stay, but you press it to blend. And then this is the cup where the guts come out. And it also comes with a little brush. So I've made it really easy for you guys because everybody's always asking me which juicer is it that I use, and I'm going to place a link down below so you guys can purchase it. So now we're gonna put this back together so you guys can see and follow the steps very closely, and then we're gonna do our first juice. So this part with the yellow goes that way, and this part with the square goes in here. Make sure that's gripped down, because if it's not gonna turn on. Then you're gonna take the blade and push it in there, and don't just place it, make sure you push it and you hear it lock, because if not, it's not going to turn on. This has to be leveled to that. So if that's sticking up a little bit, it's not in enough. You have to squeeze it in a little bit more. Now we take this piece, and this is the most important part, because if you don't put this in correctly, you might just even mess up the blender. So this opening right there has to be flipped to the back, because it has, I don't know if you guys can see, but it has a little thing in there that has to align with this. So I'm gonna place it in. And if you don't find it right away, it took me some time to get used to that. What you would do is you would start switching this around, like flickering this around. And if it's loose like this, it's not in. Make sure that this part right here is aligned with the piece in the blender. So I'll twist this back, make sure it fits right in there. You have to hear it lock. And everything has to be leveled. If it's not leveled, it's not gonna close. Now this piece comes in, and you wanna put this in. It's gonna go down. Now this means that if you twist it that way, it's gonna lock. So this has to lock in there. This piece has to close. If this happens to you, which happened to me before, that it's not down there, that means that there's something wrong in here. So you have to make sure everything aligns. So now we're gonna lock it. We will take the cup, the guts cup, and put it right next to the guts disposal. And this brush we use later. And then this is the piece we're gonna use to push down the fruit. All right, so let's get ready to blend our first juice. So I would take 1 piece of Bounty, and I will place this on top of it because it can get really messy, and turmeric stains. So if you're somebody that wants to take care of your nails and your nails are white or a certain color, I would recommend using gloves. Me, because I do nails, I just redo them. So now before I start, I'm gonna take a fork, and I'm also going to take a cup. The cup should be over here in the front. For the purpose of the video, I have it in this angle, but usually I would have it like this so that my juice is on the side, but I want you guys to see. So I just washed this cup, and I'm gonna place it right in front of here. Tall cups like this fit the complete amount of juice that I have in my fruit bag right here. If you use a shorter cup, I found that while the juice is coming out through here, it can spill and then go back here and start spilling through there. So I like the tall ones to go right in there. Okay, so I'll open it up, and this is when I turn it on, so it's gonna be a little loud, but not that loud. Not like the big blenders. This is what it sounds like. Okay, so I'll open this up. First thing I'll do is I'll take the lime out of there, because we don't squeeze the lime in there. I just put it in there so that I don't forget to do it. So I'll take whichever comes out first. It doesn't matter the order. Make sure that everything is aligned. And I'll just go piece by piece. That's why it's important for you to cut them a certain way. And don't overly pack the juicer, because if you do, then it's gonna be hard to blend down. This, don't place it anywhere where you can get dirty. See how nice? Now the kiwis. That's why it's important to cut it a certain way. Okay. So now while this is blending, you just want to make sure you can take a look to see if everything went down. Amazing. So this is when you're going to need gloves if you don't want your nails to get stained. Turmeric stains your nails, but it's not forever. It stains them for like a few hours. So now I'm going to grab the kale or spinach, and I would squeeze it in there. This is where, when you can't pack this up because the juicer will stop juicing. So take the pusher, and now you start pushing things down. It can get a little messy. So if you did everything right, it should reach all the way to the top now. And there's your green juice, but we still have 2 more ingredients to add. Don't mind my nails. Okay, we're gonna turn this off. And before we wash this, this is where the brush comes in handy. You wanna get in here to scoop this out, because this can be very annoying to clean. And while you're doing this, what I tend to do, because you kind of move this around, so what I would do is I would close this up and then move the juice away, because while I'm actually cleaning this out, I can move the blender and then spill the juice on the counter. All right, so I get in there, and then I tend to even turn it back on so it can finish blending out. The more you get this out, the less time it's gonna take you to clean it in the sink. All right, so we're gonna turn this off. And what I like to do to not waste Ziplocs is, once I'm done with this, I would dispose the guts right in that same Ziploc. This goes in there. And remember, you cannot throw this out in the garbage. You have to throw it out with, like, if you're leaving the house right at that moment, take it with you and throw it out. Because by the time you get back home, it's gonna smell up the whole house. So we're gonna throw this out in the garbage later. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how I wash this. I would open this up, put this in here, and now this comes out. And what I do is I would turn this on just to help this wash out. I'll turn it on, move it away. And then I'll fill this cup up with water. And while it's on, I would put water in here so it can start blending out whatever's in there like this. So you see that coming out. And by the time this finishes, that's gonna go down. So I'll wait for it to come out. And then I'll throw this back in the bag. And then I'll get more water. And the hotter the water, the better. So if you have one of these, you can just pull this out and open it up. That's what I do. But just make sure that before you take this out of there, you turn it off. And then I'll switch to this, more pressure. Okay, so then that means if it's not pushing out any more guts, that means there's no more in there that it can push out, but there is more. Close it. And now turn it off. Even if you don't turn it off, automatically it'll turn off. So we'll take this out, and this is when we start cleaning out the inside. So this part is easy. And because I use this every day, I just put it in my washer. So this here is the uncomfortable part. So I'll take this out first. This is full of guts. And then I will take the brush and take the back piece and kind of scrape on it like this. Water, scrape. And trust me guys, this looks like a tedious thing, but this one is the easier juicer that I found that's the fastest to clean. Every other one, it's way bigger in size, so you have to clean for longer. And lastly, this big piece. So this one you really have to thoroughly clean. Make sure that you flip this little cap open, because it could be green juice guts. And this happens a lot where it's not trying to come out. So I'll take the brush again and I'll pull it out. This can go back in here. Okay, so I leave this here to dry, and then in the next morning, I'll set it back up to use it again. So back to our juice. That whole time it was sitting to the side. So this is what happens if you don't drink this juice right away. That's why it's not good to store green juice more than 2 hours outside of the fridge. If you keep it in the fridge and you don't want to have to do this every day, you can squeeze all of the fruits out and keep it in the fridge for only 72 hours. But it is going to separate like this. I just don't like how this looks, so I do it every day. I take the extra time to do it every day. Now we're gonna take our green lime and we're going to squeeze it in there. This is why we took it out. Okay, so this is the important part. If you're trying to lose weight, you're not going to do this next step. So I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm trying to maintain, and I'm also trying to not have to make breakfast in the morning because I just don't like how heavy it feels. So I put a little bit of honey, so it could be a little sweeter. Before I squeeze in the honey, if I see that it looks like this, I would just take this layer out because then it's gonna overflow. And lastly, I whisk it around to drink it. Very light because you don't want it to spill. Okay, so just to let you guys know, I don't really have much time in the morning to actually take a sip and then do something else. I just chug this down, the full cup, and it gives me the energy that I need. It holds me until about 2 p.m. and I leave my house at 11 in the morning. So this is why I do this. And I'm just gonna drink it. I actually love green juice, so it's not hard for me to do it. And if you do it the way that I did it with the fruits that I recommended, it's not gonna taste bad at all. So you're gonna be able to do this too. First of all, if you've gotten this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. This is my little routine in the morning before I leave to work. And if you guys have been asking for the juicer that I use, here it is. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. The link is gonna be down below for you guys to purchase it. I hope you guys follow the routine because it has worked for me for years.